this person said, I want to hear about how your top anglers are generally considered cheaters and why. Hey, welcome back. We're at episode 2 of the Duckett podcast. Boyd, glad you're back with us. Another round of this thing.
Man, another round. We had a good time.
It was great.
In the first one.
Yep.
And we said, let's do another one. I don't know how many we're going to do, but we're doing 2.
We 2 for certain. For certain. We covered a ton of topics last time. Really ran the gamut of fishing in general, tournament updates, talked about forward-facing sonar, covered a lot of MLF topics, and we got some great comments from viewers as well.
We did, and I tell you, one of the fun things about this, and we talked about this, is this is kind of this is a real podcast.
Yes,
and it's from guys that represent the industry, certainly lifetimes in the industry. And hey, man, we're here to tell you the truth. So if you got a comment, and we got a bunch of them, so you listened to us last time.
Yep.
You can ask anything you want because we're going to answer it.
Yeah. So please put more out there. We'd love to have more comments from you. We grabbed 3. I pulled out 3 that we thought we would cover today, just in trying to stay a little bit on time. We could have covered 103, but we got 3 of them we're going to go over. But yeah, if you've got a comment, ideas, feedback, good or bad, give it to us. Let us know what you're thinking, and we'll try to cover as much as we can, either answering you directly or we'll might have them on the next podcast. If we're doing number 3. We got to commit to number 3 if we're going to do that.
Committed yet. So. Let's get through 2. If we still having fun, we'll do 3.
All right. That sounds good. Well, we appreciate all the viewership. A lot of great comments and a lot of positive ones too. Boyd, one of the overriding messages that I saw as I read them was they just appreciated that you coming on, taking time. You're a busy guy. You got a lot of things happening all the time. And you came on to kind of just try to set the record straight, if you would, in some cases. Not always, but just share your opinion in other cases. So I think that's probably one of the biggest kind of trends we saw in all the comments is people just like to hear from you, and sometimes they don't always get to hear your side of the story. So.
Hey, social media is busy. It's fast. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of opinions out there. There's a lot of misinformation unintentionally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just when you have, 10 or 15 people. Hey, it's like the old story. You put 20 people in a circle and you whisper the story.
Yeah.
And then they tell the next one and they tell the next one. By the time it comes back to you, it's like, what? That's not the story I told you.
It's not even the same people in that story.
Yeah, that's a fun game to play, but and this just certainly gives an opportunity if it has to do with things that dealing directly with the industry that we have knowledge of. Certainly, anything I have knowledge of just gives us a chance to. You might not like the answer any more than you did the other one.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But at least you'll hear the correct information and the correct answer to any question that anybody has.
Sounds good. Well, I'm going to jump into this first one, I'm just going to read these off the screen, and then we'll just kind of bat them back and forth a little bit. So I look forward to more of these podcasts. For one, I'm a huge MLF fan. All I ask is shoot your viewers and fans straight. MLS have some of the greatest anglers in the industry. I'm just tired of the division between the leagues, MLF and Bass. And I thought that was a great one to talk about because it's someone that obviously is passionate about the sport of fishing. They probably watch both MLF and BASS. And that division is there, seems to be somewhat social media made up in some cases. Don't you think?
I mean, that's a great point. I think the only division, if there is a division, well, let's talk about both sides of it.
Yeah.
If there's a division, it's because you have 2 companies in the same space vying for some of the same income dollars, right? We're both selling sponsorship. So that would put you at competition from that perspective.
Sure.
Beyond that, there's no division. I've been asked that a lot. I mean, especially back in the early days, the launch of Major League Fishing, back when we were just doing the Cups. What did you have a problem with bass? I have no problem. I've never had a problem with bass. I have the greatest respect for that brand. I built my career there. I won most of this stuff. I don't even fish major. I participate, but I don't compete. That's what I say. I just participate at major.
You made a
league
pretty
fishing.
darn good living over at Bass for a while, right?
But yeah, and they have a great program going on. There's a ton of history there. I have nothing negative about the Bass brand and where it comes from and what it stands for. And I'm a great supporter of that. You know, I think that if there was some, look, you never want to see someone. We're in the rod and bait business.
Sure.
We don't like seeing another rod company come into space. They compete with us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that we're not friends with a lot of people in the rod business, right? We're just, that's it.
Yeah, we see them at ICAST. We even have drinks with them sometimes.
Hey, speaking of Chase Anderson and I, we were at the Hall of Fame dinner.
Oh yeah, right.
And we had a really good time. There was a cool, one of the cool things about it, you know, there's the silent auction, but then you have the bid auction, and they're usually really unique items. So there's this American flag made out of old license plates.
Okay.
It was a really cool piece. Chase and I both wanted it, so we competed against each other as a donation to the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And I don't even remember what it sold for. It doesn't matter, because the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, we should all give what we can. Or certainly those of us close to the professional side of the sport. It honors everybody from all sides that have been in bass fishing. So, but we had a great time doing that. You know, we competed with each other, and I saw comments, you know, Boyd and Chase are, you know, fighting up. We're
going at it.
Yeah, we're not going at anything, man. We're trying to raise money for the Hall of Fame and had a good time doing it. But no, I can tell you from my perspective, I have the greatest respect for the brand, where they've come from, and there's nothing I won't do to assist them to be successful at providing a better opportunity for professional anglers.
Sure.
That's been my motivation since 2010. Some of the fans don't understand the turns or the changes that we've made, business decisions that were needed, why we film, you know, where we expand live stream, when we make changes. A lot of those things are not understood, but everything has always been and always will be, as long as I'm involved, directed to try to provide a better opportunity than we've had in the past for some number of professional anglers. It's up to the anglers to qualify, and they'll turn over through the years. I mean, KVD retires this year. It seems impossible to me. So you know, it's a change of an era just knowing Kevin's retiring. But, but as the years go forward, if we have a platform that professional anglers can make more and, you know, do more, both in the media platform, you know, money earned on the water, money earned off the water, which is the bigger piece of it, guys. It's not our tournament earnings that matter to us. It's our sponsorship.
Sure, that's where you really make your living.
That's where the living comes from. But to get a chance to enhance that and make it bigger, that's what I'm in it for. So
yeah. I mean, there's great folks over at BASS. You know, I've been lucky enough to have dinner with Chase Anderson, Lisa Talmadge, who's running the events now. Actually, for a very short time, actually even worked for me for a little bit. And she's a great lady, well deserved. Good for her for getting that position. You know, when Tripp left, and they run a great organization. It's different than MLF. Anglers are always going to make choices what the best fit for them, whether it's format style or what's good for them, and it's just going to be back and forth. And you're right. You know, we're competitive with other tackle companies in the space that we're in, but friendly competitors for the most part. The fishing industry is a pretty small place at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We kind of know each other.
We all know each other, yeah. One of the things I like about I have a lot of friends still got a lot of old friends at Bass, but one of the things I like about the Bass organization is the passion that the people in the organization that have been there for years, the passion they have for the sport of professional bass fishing.
Sure.
You have to, if you can't appreciate that, you're not part of this space.
Right.
And same thing with the back in 19 with the purchase of FLW, and you know, picking up Kathy and Dave and those longtime tournament directors, everybody, that staff at FLW. It's the same thing. It's a group of people that could make a living, probably a better one, okay? Honestly, a lot of places that have a passion for the sport of bass fishing, and they want to be in it. Kind of like kind of like a bunch of us, I think about early on, when we all wanted to be professional bass fishermen, and there wasn't money in the space to be it, but we wanted to because we had a passion for the sport. We wanted to be part of it. So that's the cool part about both of those organizations. Even in PFL, and I'm not familiar with them, never fished it, don't know it well, but when you see somebody come into the space and they seem to be a pretty good crew, they put together an opportunity for additional anglers, that's awesome. Because we're not capable of feeding the world. We're the largest by far. We can't feed everybody that wants to fish, and neither can bass. And so all of that is positive for us to have guys come into the space and provide opportunity for young anglers to come up and try to make a living and a good living. So that's what we're in it for, and I think that goes the same on the other side.
Yeah, I love that side of it because it's really the message at the end of the day. No matter what tournament trail you fish, from the local one in your club to the state run events, which Alabama has a great one, Texas has a great one. There's lots of those around, and then the true professional leagues. They're all really designed to just give people more opportunity in a very positive manner. And shoot, that's why we fish, because it's fun. That's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. All right, I got the next question. We're going to jump onto this. This was a little juicier, but I thought it's worth talking about. So this person said, I want to hear about how your top anglers, and I'm assuming it's MLF, not Duckett's top anglers, just for the record. Right. I think they're talking to you more than me. Are generally considered cheaters, and why? And I thought that was an interesting comment. I'm not saying I most certainly don't agree with that, but your top anglers are generally considered cheaters, and why? So you want to take a shot at that?
Well, my first answer would be I would guess that the majority of the audience doesn't consider them cheaters. So
I would think so.
But in respect to the question, there's been a lot of social media controversy over some of the things that we've done, and information about all the testings that we have done, the investigations that we make, and probably that's a good point of misinformation as to how things get out there. So at Major League Fishing, one of the things that's different from the past, no take away from what Bass has done in the past, FLW has done in the past, any other tournament league in the past.
Yeah.
We made a choice, which was angler driven. We wanted to have the cleanest, most even, no chance of rule breaking. We instituted polygraphs by angler vote, not by league vote. And we do full investigations on anything we hear and everything we hear about. So that has ramped that up from what professional bass fishing traditionally did. If you have a horrible mess, obviously, Bass or FLW in the past has had to take that on. But they don't dig for or look for or review for. They don't look for rule infractions.
Okay.
Just if a rule infraction that's been traditionally how bass fishing.
So if it was reported, they would look into it. Where you guys are being a little more proactive on your side, is what you're saying.
100 times.
Okay.
We investigate everything we hear about, everything that is seen, from video clips to social, to then to finish that. To do a proper investigation, it takes time. One of the things that I always felt like, and this matters a lot to me, if you're a professional angler and your career is on the line, when you come to getting rule infractions, and every sport has them, okay?
Sure.
So it's not the end of the world to have a rule infraction.
Yeah, right.
But you certainly, before you penalize somebody, especially if it's a big deal like a disqualification, that's a big impact on a pro tour angler's career. Mm-hmm. So you certainly want a full and fair investigation where you have all the facts, because the last thing we want to do is hang somebody that's innocent, right?
Sure.
So we want full confidence. Well, working through that full process, and the fact that the world can see us working through that process has led some to believe they got all these problems over there. No, we don't, guys. We have the cleanest league that's ever fished. We have the we don't have guys that have rule infractions because we catch them. I mean, we work hard to catch them all. And so I think to answer that question, if there is a perception, it's because people recognize how often we're doing full investigations. Great example is the Cayuga tournament.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
hey, man,
that's a great one to bring up.
Man, the Cayuga tournament was the biggest thing there was.
At that moment in time, it made all the news. Yeah.
Number one, the fans need to understand what our rules are, and they're on the website and they've always been printed. It was not against our rules to catch the same fish twice. It was against our rule to sight fish, in other words, see a bass and catch it twice. I'm not saying the rule was written correctly. We have since changed it.
Okay, right.
But we thought we had it by saying you could not sight fish. And sight fish is clearly defined in our rules as visually seeing a bass.
So like knowingly catch that same fish twice?
No,
not even that.
Sight fish.
Sight fish.
I didn't
Okay.
say knowing.
All right.
I said, look, sight fish means you physically see him with your eyes. When I see that bass, I'm sight fishing. And we did that because there's other ways. You could see roaming bass. You might see bass going on the surface. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can see a bass.
Sure, yeah.
But to be looking at it and fishing with it with your eyes was sight fishing.
Okay.
So we had anglers that never saw the bass and casted to an area that they knew a bed was. Then came back later, and this in fact happened. I mean, we did full investigation. I know every fish that was caught
right.
through that process, and came back later, never saw the bass, and fished the same area and caught a fish that was the same weight. So to know that they didn't break a rule, because you can't have seen it, that's an easy polygraph question. Did you see the bass that you were fishing for?
Yeah, that's a yes or no answer, right?
It's a yes or no answer. That's clear. So one of the things that we have, of course, Major League Fishing, where we have officials in every boat. We have onboard leaderboards. We have GPS locations of every angler. So what we did is we took all of our GPS locations from every angler every day they competed over 6 days. If a bass weighed within 1 ounce up or down, like you caught a 5-1, later in the day you caught another 5-1, or even a 5-2, in case of weight change. Normally it might drop an ounce or something.
Yeah.
Then, and it was at the same GPS location, you were tested. So we went through that process. Took a long time.
I was going to say, that's a pretty tedious process.
That's why
it's a lot of data you got to pull together.
If you do a complete and correct full investigation, that's what you have. So now we have everybody that caught the same weight fish twice.
Okay, yep.
And in the same GPS location. We tested every one of those anglers to see if they saw that bass. Because you can't visibly sight fish. That means see it with your eyes. You can't catch a fish more than once per day. You could have seen him that morning and come back in the afternoon and not seen him, blind casted, and if you happen to catch him, then that fish was scoreable.
Sure.
Not saying the rule was written correctly, but that was a rule, guys. Hey, all the rules committee can do is enforce the laws that exist, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happened, and we had one angler disqualified, and the rest cleared. There was no inconclusives, nothing close to the line. I mean, to me, that was one of the best run investigations for a situation. Now, just to clear it up for the audience, our rules moving forward is that you cannot target the same bass. Once you have visually located a bass, anytime from practice to the last day of the tournament, if you have visually seen that bass ever, you cannot target that bass twice. That's also an easy polygraph. It's a black and white yes or no question.
You're right.
If I see a 6-pounder here, I can't come down that bank way out and throw to him. If he weighs 6 pounds, I got to put him. Well, number one, I failed because I targeted it. I know I target. And every angler that fishes, when you make your cast, you know what you've done.
Yeah. Yes.
You can't cheat polygraph. You can't unsee what you've seen. So that's probably a good correction to the rule to eliminate the opportunity to catch the same bass twice. But that's a great example of what I saw a ton of negative social media. We did the best and most thorough investigation you possibly could. Had one angler, got a full disqualification, and we had no other issues. So that's what you want.
Right.
You want true and fair justice in every situation. But that's the only reason and that perception exists, and it's kind of unfair because we're the league that's doing all the investigation. Our anglers can't take a risk.
If you don't investigate, it never comes to the surface.
Yeah, that's right.
So I mean, if you just look the other way all the time, there'd never be any cheating because no one would ever say that anything ever happened wrong. I guess that's one way to look at it.
And I can tell you, we're not doing all that investigation on behalf of the league because it costs us money and it's a pain in the butt. It's a bunch of work to do what I just described.
Yeah.
But our anglers wanted the most fair platform that existed, and we've created that. So,
the other side of it too is because you took that time. And that's one of the key things is you saw on social media that there was this outrage almost instantly. Like, they should be handled. That needs to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You need to decide today that person needs to be disqualified or that person needs to be, that fish doesn't count. But what you're saying is that because it was so thorough, you can't make those decisions in a snap judgment. You've got to do your due diligence to make the right choice.
Stu Price, if that was the American way in the American legal system, the OJ trial would have taken 1 day.
Maybe one afternoon.
Okay.
1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour. American legal system doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You want to penalize those that broke the law, but it's also critical. That's why in America you're innocent until proven guilty. Opinion is not what it's about. It's about evidence.
Yeah.
So it's the Rules Committee's responsibility to produce the evidence to show the rule violation, and then they can penalize accordingly. So,
Gotcha.
And that takes a minute.
Yeah.
It may or may not even be able to be completed at the event. If we're lucky enough it can, then we can react in that event. But oftentimes you'll see us, well, if it's a disqualification, that would be that event. But for the more insignificant fines, non-intentional, non-cheating, guys who make mistakes, everybody watching this that's fished bass tournaments, you have broken a rule in a bass tournament.
Sure.
You have. You've gotten up, you've got to put your life jacket on, you've done something. You incorrectly, put 6 in a live well instead of 5. Had to call the tournament director because mistakes are made.
Yeah, right.
And we pay those in time penalties. But sometimes you'll see that time penalty happen at the next event so that we could finish that investigation, especially when it comes to fishing in non-fishing waters that didn't even know you had a controversy.
Sure.
Till 3rd day into the event, someone calls, you're in Louisiana, it's a private land, we've got to go through the process of discovering the landowner, possibly pulling plats to determine if it's state land or private land. You can't just accept somebody's, hey, he wasn't supposed to be here, disqualify him.
Right.
That might be the competitor's brother-in-law, right?
Sure,
you can't go like,
or the guy that's just a couple ounces behind.
Yeah,
maybe.
right.
You never know, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So to do a correct investigation so you know whether someone broke the rule takes a minute. And we're going to do, we don't care how long it takes. What we care about is that it's done correctly and it's done every time.
Yeah.
And it's quite a system, and so I hate that that's out there because we have worked hard to create a system to eliminate all rule infractions. That's never happened in our sport before us, but yet the perception is that we have a lot of problems, and we don't have any compared to. The rest of the industry. So
like we said, it's just that you're devoting the time to investigate it, to be more thorough, and in doing so, sometimes it just appears that there's more issues when in fact you're just ensuring that there aren't.
That's
any.
right.
Yeah. All right, Boyd, I'm going to jump into question number 3 here. It's a little long-winded, so bear with me. I'm just going to read it right off so we get it right. So I believe this is again, I don't believe, I know it is pointed toward Major League Fishing, but you might really make some serious headway with viewers if you get the Major League Fishing app onto Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, etc., adding the loss of those 2 days of coverage combined with the headaches of trying to screen or mirror, connect a laptop to a TV to get the browser on the TV working is a pain in the ass? Or is it just that so MOTV can get their pound? So I guess there's a question in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, have you thought about doing something app-driven on streaming television services, and how does that relate to the changes in coverage? So
that's a great question.
It is,
and I fully understand it because I have 100 hours in that question. Okay, that this person.
So I thought this was long-winded.
Yeah,
You're saying
right.
this ain't nothing.
This ain't nothing. Yeah, it's a great question because people would like to have ways to receive Major League Fishing without necessarily watching MLF Now, which is our live stream at MLF.com. Obviously, MOTV carries a live stream as well. We started that path, so I'm going to back up to this question fits everything we've talked about.
Okay.
Because the evolution of Major League Fishing, we have been a linear delivery product. When the idea obviously Major League Fishing started the idea in 10, filmed the first episode in 11. In 2011, folks, television delivery, what we refer to as linear delivery versus digital delivery, was probably twice or greater the audience. Yeah. So when you're creating media, this has nothing to do with the tournament circuits or sponsorship. This has to do with us creating a televised product or a live stream product, delivering it. We are selling impressions to endemic or non-endemic sponsors. We're still about 60% non-endemic. So, and our growth as a sport, if we're going to catch up with the PGA or people compare us to golf, those kind of things, and if our guys are going to make that kind of money, it's not going to come from our industry. It's going to come from the televised product or the created product, the live stream product that we deliver on whatever platforms. So we're selling impressions, so we need the most possible. 10 years ago, linear delivery was by far the option. A little bit of live stream, but it was not significant. As most people know, television is a dying industry. Now, I'm not saying it's going to die, but I'm going to say, but it shows all the trends to continue. And when I say television, I'm talking about cable subscribers, Dish, Direct, subscribed television.
Yeah, it's just changed so much on how you consume it.
It's changed because of everything in that question. Those are all options. Roku and Fire and Netflix, and people want to. We've reached a new place, which could be a better place, where we used to sit down, early in my lifetime, and we got to see whatever they chose. We got to see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and whatever ABC said was coming on at 9, that's what you watched.
What we had to watch. Yeah. Now we have the opportunity to say, I want to see fishing, or I want to see my favorite series, or I want to see my favorite movie. Not the one you're playing, the one I want to see.
Yeah, right.
And so that trend has continued. So I say all that to say that part of all of these changes that have created so much controversy, us going to 4-day events, the expansion of live stream. We have substantially expanded our live stream with the addition of the General Tire Team Series, the BFL All-American, right. Toyota Series Championship, College Championship. Just the Team Series is 26 original too. So that's 52 more original program hours. I think our live stream is 350 hours more than. So we're expanding in what we're filming and shooting.
So 350 more hours than last year?
Than we previously had.
If I just stop for one quick second, one of the things that I hear comments of is, you cut 2 days. You cut 2 days. You cut 2 days. How many times have you heard that?
I heard that a bunch.
But in reality, yes, you have downsized there. You've cut a couple days there, but you're adding dozens of other days of content. And that's a piece that's something that gets missed. And I think part of it is because the first time you started streaming again, it was 2 days shorter, and that's all people remembered. But there's a whole bunch of great content to come that they've never seen before.
That's
so
right.
the best is yet to come, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, basically the changes, restructuring the company to the positioning that it's in now all occurred last fall, and we'll have 4-day events, guys, from now on. We have a gap year. Remember, we have 80 to 65 to 50. Our future is running the Bass Pro Tour at 50 guys with 4-day events. Well, why not do it now?
Yeah.
So we'll run. We do have 80 guys, but we're only live streaming, because one thing I don't want to do, and this group out there has taught me, you're tired of change. So we're going to make one time. We're going to change once. Okay. So we're 4-day events from now on. Now, starting next year, the 65 guys will fish 4 days in a row.
Okay.
All of them on the water at the same time.
Yeah, and that absorbs that gap, so to speak, right?
One of a lot of people got a ton of fans at Major League Fishing. They like what we do. The most confusing thing we did was the A group, B group. Everybody wasn't fishing at the same time, and all, so that cures that. That was one of the big drivers to go to that 4-day event.
Sure.
And then that also gives us more time. You take the same budget, although we added to the budget to expand live stream. We want to live stream a whole lot more. Back more directly to the question. So yes, everything you have listed and 50 more. I am in the process of having meetings, trying to determine, when you talk about streaming on these platforms, you run into exclusivity contracts, you run into sponsor exclusivities. For Toyota is the exclusive automobile title, they're a title sponsor, and our exclusive automobile.
Right.
So if I'm streaming on Roku and they have Chevrolet advertising, that can't run with us.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
That's the kind of stuff that you don't think about from the viewer point of view sometimes.
That's exactly right. So that is a great question, and that is something I'm trying to solve. And you will see us start to expand on more platforms. That is part of the 5-year package. You're going to see us expand greatly in other platforms.
Right.
But you should understand. You might as well. Hey, you come here to learn it all. So it might be boring, but I'm going to tell you so you understand. It's complicated because of sponsorship and exclusivities.
Yeah.
And then you may not, if Hulu is running pre-rolls coming into your segment, it can't be Chevrolet with Toyota, and it can't be an outdoor box retailer when Bass Pro has exclusivity on that.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot and that goes straight throughout the product. Another issue you run into, quite honestly, is running your own advertising when some of the other platforms, especially, a lot of what you've mentioned here, they run their own advertising. So now I get no benefit to run Major League Fishing. If you pull my sponsored advertising out, we can't afford. I mean, it's no good to us.
Yeah.
So we got to go through all these business negotiations, and it's pretty complicated. And it's not just us. The NFL is neck deep in figuring this out. The people at ESPN are neck deep in figuring that this is the changeover.
Yeah,
this is all part of the changeover from what we used to understand as simple linear delivery to what I believe 5 years from now will be dominated by digital delivery. But it's a great question, and it's a complicated answer, but it is the future, and yes, you'll see changes. In fact, it's possible that there's a streaming platform that will pick up Redcrest, which is just in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah.
That we'll be streaming on, and you'll see a lot more coming in the future. Yeah. So I really appreciate the question. I know it's a long answer, but there's a lot of complications. It isn't as easy as, hey, I want to go be on Netflix, because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. You made me think about that. We all love football. We watch it around here, and there were some games this year that if you weren't a Prime subscriber, you couldn't watch the football game, or a couple of the playoff games, I think, were on Peacock. And if you didn't watch, if you didn't have that, if you didn't pay your $5, you just didn't get to watch that. Or you had to go down to the bar and watch it there. I mean, you couldn't watch it at home unless you're... So I see that now from a different point of view of the complications that streaming service can offer. But it sounds great that the good news within this question, the real silver lining there is, hey, I want to watch your stuff. And I want to watch more of it. And it sounds like you guys are trying to solve that riddle right now.
Thank you so much for that. And it's going to be an evolution over the next several years because it's not clear because of all those business negotiation complications, but it's coming.
Yeah.
You look at what the NFL, you talk about the NFL, they had 2 playoff games that were exclusively streamed. That is a huge financial risk. That's why they didn't do all the playoffs. That's number one.
Right.
So they picked 2 and they said, we're going to take this
Stick
risk.
their toe in the water a little bit, right?
Because they're giving up an audience that's probably going to be in the 25 million range on linear delivery. And I don't know, I never saw the ratings of what Peacock was, but if it was 10, they took a bath.
Yeah, right.
And which means the NFL won't do that moving forward. Or maybe they did match or exceed, and you'll see more of it from the NFL. So all of us, you may see us come and go from platforms as we do what the NFL, for instance, is doing, and figure out which ones work, which ones don't work.
Sure, yeah, which people like. And at the end of the day, the story is you got to pay the bills, right? So, if the NFL said, hey, we lost some viewership, but Peacock is willing to offset that because they want to grow their channel, it still may make good sense.
That's right.
But they gotta try it and see how it works.
But it's a great question, and thank you for that. And
it's a
everybody
good one.
that had to listen to that, I'll go back to what the motivation for this podcast. There's nothing you shouldn't ask because we will tell you just like it is.
Yeah.
Might not like the answer.
Well, the support has been great. We've got, like I said, thanks for all the great questions, and keep them coming. Give us some more. Keep feeding us questions. We'd love to answer them, and we're going to try to get as many as we can. Obviously, when you get 100 questions, you can't do them all, but we're going to always pick out some of the ones that we think would be interesting to other people, and then we'll try to work them into the shows as we go forward. So
fun part of the show.
Yeah. Speaking of the show, and speaking of Redcrest, which you touched on a second ago. So just a couple of weeks away for us. We are going to go down and film part of this at Redcrest.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Let's do a podcast at Redcrest.
So we're going to go down there.
Redcrest is fun anyway.
The other thing that we heard a lot of comments of is, hey, can you get some guests on? And we even alluded to that. Hey, we'd love to bring some guests on. Well, there's going to be a bunch of them wandering around down there.
That's right.
We might get some great anglers. Shoot, we might get the mayor from Birmingham on the podcast.
That's right.
Who knows what we're going to get? But we're gonna film some down from the Duckett booth at Redcrest. And so who knows who's going to wander into the set with us? It might just be the local Birmingham high school marching band. I don't know. We'll figure something out and just bring them on in. So
we can get our fan questions live.
We might just get that too. Yeah,
we might just have somebody join us.
We'll just have somebody come in and ask you a question.
Birmingham Bass Club. Yeah, sit in the podcast.
Yeah, come on in.
What's your opinion? Yeah, what's your opinion?
So we're excited about Redcrest coming up. It's almost hometown for us. It's right down the road. They're fishing at Lay Lake. You got any history at Lay Lake?
Fishing at Lay. It's a good lake. I've won a couple of derbies at Lay. I've made a little bit of money down at Lay Lake, so it's a good one for sure. But yeah, it's a super. Being right here in Alabama is awesome. Alabama's a great fishing state, bass fishing state, great tournament state.
Yeah,
a lot of guys like to tournament fish here, and Birmingham's always been a great venue. So,
great city. Yeah,
great city. We've got a really good expo lined up. All the guys will be there, and of course we'll have the Bass Pro Tour Championship, Redcrest. So you'll get to see those guys every day. Come watch the watch party and look at all the cool stuff. One of the cool things about Redcrest or the Classic, another great expo, been to plenty of those too, is, there's a lot of deals.
There are some great deals.
Like there isn't anything in fishing I don't own, but when in the old days when I used to go to the Classic and definitely all the Redcrest, now I just like walking around and just I would buy $400 worth of stuff because it was, I don't know, it's just fun. You got all the
beef jerky to fishing rods, right? I mean, literally, it is all there. Yeah,
it's the world's biggest tackle store.
Right.
For 3 days, it's the world's biggest tackle store. So,
and I'm like you. I've been traveling to the Classic and Redcrest events and fishing shows. And my wife knows I'm always going to come home with something I probably don't need, but I think I love. It's like I just end up with a new lure or a bag of something, or talk to a buddy and ended up buying a new pair of sunglasses or whatever it is. And we're going to have some deals. Duckett Fishing is going to have some great deals down there. So we're going to share a lot of those through our social channels, but be sure to come down and check out Redcrest. The home of my favorite barbecue is in Birmingham too. Dreamland Barbecue is one of my favorites.
Dreamland Barbecue.
Yeah, so I'm going to get some barbecue while we're down there and enjoy Redcrest. So.
When I was in Demopolis, there was a Dreamland up at Tuscaloosa, part of the same group.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that is the original.
Oh, really?
The original, yeah. It's just southeast of Tuscaloosa. The original location.
Man.
So we used to love to go down there.
One of my favorites.
I'm a barbecue fan.
Yeah,
ribs,
me too.
Especially.
Me too. Maybe we should shoot the podcast of Dreamland.
Yeah.
Tyler, put that on the notes. We'll see if we work that in.
Yeah, Dreamland podcast.
So one of the things that's kind of exciting is KVD's last official tournament is this Redcrest, right?
Man, the pace of bass fishing as far as it's, a lot going on. We're getting ready for Redcrest, but probably the biggest thing that's happening this year, okay, isn't Redcrest. It's not the Classic, and it's not whoever's going to win the next event. It's the fact that Kevin Van Dam is retiring from competition. He's not retiring, y'all. He's still Kevin. He's got a bunch on his plate. He's just retiring from competition. But the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and Redcrest, he's qualified for Redcrest from last year on Bass Pro Tour, so he'll be fishing his final event. That's powerful. I mean, that's Jack Nicklaus playing his last.
Little tear in my eye, though, about it. It's because we're both personally friends with Kevin.
Oh, absolutely.
We love the guy. We like his family. He's such a great person, a great angler, but he's a great person too. And I'm excited. I can't wait to be a part of that. But it's kind of it's just such a big change in the sport because we've just known Kevin as dominant for so long.
Man, I'm telling you, if you haven't come to a Redcrest or you hadn't come to a Classic ever, if you're ever going to come to one, this would be the one.
This is a good one to come to.
Because obviously he's going to be front and center, and it is pretty cool. And I think about Richard Petty's last race. I grew up in Charlotte around racing in the old days.
Sure.
And that's those are lifetime opportunities.
Yeah.
And Jack Nicklaus' last round of golf. Could you imagine being there for that?
No,
I mean, those are lifetime opportunities. So it's a big deal. We have our Thunderbolt Ball for our sponsors and anglers on Friday nights, closed to our sponsors and anglers. But we got a little deal there for Kevin and looking forward to doing that.
That's awesome.
Going to be a lot of wet eyes and a lot of memories, especially for the old guys that competed against him. I mean, in my lifetime in competition, and certainly in the my full time, I fished for a long time, but I have about 8 years, maybe 9 years, that it was my number one priority.
Okay.
And so during my era and before and after as well, but during my era, the events that I won, the top 10s that I made, when I was pushing, it all went through Kevin. And I mean, you say that. I mean, it's kind of like, it reminds me of Alabama football, and I'm a Tennessee fan, so know that. But the last 15 years, whether they were in it or weren't in it, you knew at the beginning of the season it ran through Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
You're going to have to beat them somewhere along the way.
Yeah, the road to the championship ran through Tuscaloosa. Yeah.
And so for us on tour during Kevin's heyday, which unlike most anglers was the majority of his career, it wasn't a 3-year stretch.
Right.
It was a tremendous. It was always out there. So there was never another angler that. It's the Dale Earnhardt in NASCAR, the Intimidator.
Yeah.
That's kind of that guy.
Well, and Kevin was known for that too. That look, right?
I guarantee you're leading going into the 4th day, and Kevin's in the top 10. You were less comfortable. let me put it that way.
No doubt.
In fact, I think I'd almost rather be behind him going into the final day than in front of him. I think almost all the events that I won, he was in the hunt. Where I had to beat him to get there, beat him to win.
Sure.
And then of the ones that I didn't, it's because I wasn't able to beat him to get in or beat him to win. Yeah, that was it. So that's really, really a big deal.
It's super exciting.
Exciting.
Shout out to Kevin Van Dam. We love you. And we're excited to see you compete in that last event. And man, I hope he just goes and wins the dang thing. That'd be the greatest thing in the world. I'd love to see that. No offense to anybody else, but gosh dang, that would be pretty
Nobody on this podcast would be shocked if he wins it.
Yeah.
I promise you.
Absolutely. Well, so come see us at Redcrest, March 15th, 16th, 17th in Birmingham, and we're looking for an exciting event, that's for sure.
Come see us. Maybe you'll get on the podcast.
Maybe so. Yeah, come on in. Guest appearance by who knows what. Who knows who. Well, Boyd, let's take a minute and talk about what's happening in the world of bass fishing, current events a little bit. So,
World bass fishing.
You just we just rolled out of stage 2 out of Santee Cooper. We talked a little bit about that going in. There's a bet to settle.
There is a bet to settle about Santee.
Yeah. I think you're pretty happy about it too, aren't you?
You know, I said at the very first podcast, but I don't know how over the next 2 years we won't talk about forward facing. And it's easy to talk about this one because we had a bet.
We did.
Dealing with forward facing.
Yes,
forward facing and all that comes with it. And forward facing is a technique. It's not equipment. So
right,
you know,
right.
I almost hate calling it that anymore. But, you know, that forward facing tech and all the techniques that go with that.
Yes, yes.
Did not dominate Santee.
No.
And if there's any place on the planet that it shouldn't, it would be Santee at the time that we were there. So.
Yeah, we talked about timing would play a big role in that. And a big part of it, kind of my bet was if it was 2 weeks later, it had no chance of being important in it. But a lot of the guys fished up close. We looked at it, and 2 guys that we could say like truly used forward-facing offshore targeting fish, using that kind of as we discussed. The bet
and we set it up because forward-facing is on every angler's boat, and it's involved in every cast. You know, Dean Rojas was finished second.
Right.
And Dean was shallow, but he was forward-facing, so that doesn't count because we're all seeing what we're doing. But that offshore, looking for the new bass that forward-facing opened up, that would be the open water roamers.
Right.
Although it was one on it.
So it was one.
You get a little
I know.
bet.
I almost feel like we ought to split the bet. But
no, that wasn't the bet.
All right, I got my $5 one way or another.
So
I got my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we, my friend, are even. I'm paying my dues right here. So
and sometime later in the podcast or another one, we should talk a little bit about the stacks of ones, okay, that are
in
on
this
everybody's
office.
At Duckett Fishing. Everybody in the office has stacks of ones that can't leave their desk.
That's true.
And those stacks of one, and we bet on things like we just did here.
Mm-hmm.
College football is one of our favorites, and we don't. It's only ones, and we don't bet big. College football game's $1.
Yep.
The bowl games are $3.
3, 5, and
5
10
on the
or whatever.
Yeah, so
on how we go,
these are $1 at a time bets.
Yeah,
so $5 is a pretty big bet.
Yeah,
that'll contribute to my stack, and
Yeah.
and maybe in the next podcast we'll just kind of show you how everybody's doing in stack size. I'm the guy pushing that should be in the podcast because mine is pretty good.
Yeah, yours is pretty. You've got a couple years on me of growing a nice stack. That's
mine's
for sure,
on up there pretty good. So.
I will admit, though, that I donated more than I took in this college football season. I bet a little too much with my heart, not with my head. But,
I got you.
But we'll come back to it. Knox, you're getting a little nervous on us.
Stop,
He's starting to get a little wild. All right. So with that, though, we hey.
Stop. We'll just go to break. One thing, when he gets like that, you gotta, if you ignore him,
You just got to get away from him.
because if you touch him,
then it's fun.
It accelerates. I've learned that just move away from him. Sorry, we're gonna almost have to
No worries.
reshoot that or have a stop point.
Yep.
Where were you?
All right, so
Start over.
settled up on the $5. So, but let's talk about that, unpack that for a little bit. We're super excited. Jacob Wheeler, our pro, ended up making a couple clutch decisions at the end of that event and took home the win. One of the things that he has coined this phrase of is this shake and bake technique a little bit. We've heard him talk about that a couple times. I think maybe that first came to light when he was here in Guntersville. And that whole idea of kind of back to what you said, that forward-facing is an application of technology, but there's a technique to that. And when he talks shake and bake, it's using 2 different rods, using 2 different weights, watching the fish and applying a technique to get the bites.
That's right.
Because they just don't jump in the boat just because you got forward-facing strapped on the front end, right?
Most everybody's already learned that if you bought one.
Yeah,
so
right.
you already learned that. No, it's definitely technique.
It takes the time, and you got to put that in there. So Jacob was using a couple of our rods in that technique this time, and we've got this new series of rods from Jacob, the Select series, which is the premium line we expanded into this year. But for him to make this technique work right, he used that rod part of the time, and then he used his traditional Signature Series rod because the actions are uniquely different. And he found a way to apply both of these at specific times that made the most sense for him.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
Have you talked to him about that and what he was doing a little bit?
Yeah, not much since the event, but I watched him, and certainly we've talked a ton about forward-facing techniques. So this rod, this Select rod, and this unbelievable series to these Selects.
Fantastic, The feel on those is, these are really good, and those are even better. Basically is what it boils down to.
You know, at a $250 price point, this is a nice fishing rod.
Yes,
it is. But so they're both medium action rods. This one is a slower taper. It's a little bit stronger in power than is that original medium. And so if he's got a larger, either a larger weight head or a larger profile bait, which is heavier in the cast, then that's kind of where this bait kicks in for him. Some of the lighter, 3/16 ounce, small 3-inch baits, 2.5, 3-inch, 3.5-inch baits, that would more fit that medium action rod. But the shake and bake is a technique to get, like you said, to get bites. So it's one thing to go locate the fish, and everybody that's done this knows how tough this can be. But figuring out, how they react and how to work the bait. Sometimes you want a heavier weight and a faster moving bait when it comes over their head. And generally, not always, but most of the time, we're fishing baits on forward facing above the fish. So you locate that fish, you're out, and it doesn't matter the depth. Fish is 10 feet down, 15 feet down. I kind of try to start about 5 feet down or something. And then sometimes they want it to sit there, like wintertime when the water's cold seems to matter. And and Jacob's really, really good at this. He has found a right series of baits, one of which we're working on a bait, that for this very purpose currently. I don't even know if it has a name. Does it have a name yet?
Its name is Top Secret now.
Okay, Top Secret. But basically that light head allows you, and if you'll watch Jacob when he's doing this on live, that bait pendulums down and it gets to that level 3 to 5 feet above the fish, and he may want it to stall. So that bait is moving, but very slowly. There's times when you want it to come by that fish quicker. Sometimes in the clearest water, I'll go to heavier heads, and I have learned I can't fish with him on forward facing.
You can't keep up, is what you're saying?
I can't keep up with him on forward facing, but I have learned enough about it to start to recognize these things, and you'll want to come by them quicker to get that reaction. But like on this, and I got to tell you, talk about that wind specifically. So the end of that tournament, if you want to know why Jacob's a champion, and how he fishes fearless. He fishes to win.
Without a doubt.
15 minutes left. He's up 2 pounds and 6 ounces over Dean Ross. Dean is in an area where he's been catching them and had lots of water in front of him. And a reasonable probability. Jacob recognized he was not comfortable holding that lead. He had, and you talk about strength, you talk about mental strength. He had a tree or a stump that had a single fish on it, 10 miles away.
Across the whole lake.
Dude, 10 miles away with 15 minutes left. Most of us at tournament fish, because you're all in to a win or loss at that point. And to close the tournament out, he's willing to spend 10 or 11 minutes. I was watching it on live.
Me too.
I'm like, dude, have you lost your mind? Because Dean had a high probability of catching one. But Wheeler knew that. And he knew he could close him out if he went over and caught that.
If he got one more.
Confidence to be able to go do that. And he goes, and by the way, it took him like 2 minutes to find and set up on that stump. There's his fish. And of course, he's so good at the presentation that if he finds one, his confidence level, he's going to catch him.
He almost wills it into happening.
He's going to catch him. When I saw it on split screen and I saw the fish, I'm like, now I understand. And there's 3 minutes left. 2 minutes and some seconds.
Whatever it was.
Whatever it was to catch a 3-pounder and go far enough ahead to shut Dean out. And that's That's what champions do. That's what champions do. That
you and I talk
the rest
about
of
that
us don't do.
A little bit is like, you pick up, you run, you got 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 18 minutes, whatever it was, run across the lake, spend 10 minutes getting there. What if there's somebody anchored up crappie fishing on that stump, right? I mean, it could have happened. Now, it all worked out good for him, and he hoisted the trophy, but just gutsy, man, just a gutsy move to go pick up and do that.
He has, at a fairly young age, he's, compared to the experience level it used to take, he is a very mature 29, 30-year-old, maybe 30 now. I can't remember when his birthday is. But when it comes to competition and the courage to take those risks and make the right call, to have the headspace to make that calculation, not be freaked. It's not a Hail Mary. When you see Wheeler run with 10 minutes, trust me, it ain't a Hail Mary. It's a well-calculated play that's in the playbook that he's going to beat you with. And that's scary, man. I mean, that's scary.
Yeah, I think the announcers, JT was saying, that's someone that's fishing to win, not working to not lose. He is going to fish that to win that. He's going to go make that run because he knows his odds are stacked in his favor if he does that versus sitting here. Yeah. Good for him. Well, congratulations to Jacob for making a big win. We're excited for him. And Dean, too. Dean's also fishing Duckett rods on the team. And, he's been a friend of yours for a long time. And he caught him in a totally different way and in places a lot of guys weren't. Throwing a wacky worm and then just doing a completely different technique. And, man, just... Good job.
I enjoyed. Dean is a phenomenal shallow water fisherman. I would argue there aren't very many that can compete with Dean in shallow water. And one thing that was cool about this event, and it was one offshore, forward facing. But you had a guy that is one of the experts in shallow water, and he showed you that you can get beat without forward facing. That was the cool part about it. It was like one versus the other, and it was a chess match to the very end.
One fish either way.
Either way. And but boy, Dean's good at that, and great event. I mean, second place. We want to win them all, but quite honestly, top fives are hard to come by. But if you can go have an event as good as Dean, man, hats off. He'll win his share of them. And
there was some fun drama. That lake showed out with giant fish. Dudley's big one to get in, that 9-pounder that he kind of called a shot on. I missed a big one out there earlier today. Whack, and hit that fish. That was pretty exciting. There were some great moments in Santee.
Man, Santee Cooper is a special place. It's not a numbers lake, but ever. Like even some of the best tournaments I've had there, and I've had some really good tournaments at Santee. Haven't won there, but finished third. And but it's not a 30 bite a day deal.
Right. Even this event.
Any event.
They caught great bags of fish, but they didn't catch hundreds of fish.
No, you catch 10 or 12 bass, you had a good solid day. But at Santee, if you catch 12 bass, you got a 25-pound plus bag because the big ones live there. That's a fun thing about Santee. There's big gaps in between bites, but any time it goes tink, it might be a 10-pounder.
Sure.
I mean, it's just what's it going to be? So.
Fun event, great to watch that, and really a good time to tune in to watch that event. So, lots of great setup, diversity. Guys caught them in a lot of different ways, and so that made it really entertaining to watch, I thought.
Yeah, and I tell you, I don't even know if this is one of your topics, but
It is now.
Okay, it is now. It's a podcast. We do anything we want. We can talk about Knox and his bone for a while.
We can.
We're leaving Santee, and we're going to Dale Hollow. A deep, clear reservoir, another famed fishery for the biggest smallmouth in the world. It's a world record holding, within 11-15, a 12-pound smallmouth. A 12-pound. Folks, this is a 6-pounder that I caught in a Bassmaster event. The fish died, and I got the state to allow me, because we don't keep our fish at Bass. But the fish died, deceased. I paid a penalty for that too, like 4 ounces or 8, whatever it was back then. And I call it a 6. It was actually a 5.15, but I call it a 6. But it's the lake is full of those, and 8s and 9s. And can you imagine a 12-pound?
It's twice that big.
A 12, think about this now. Most of you will never catch a 12-pound largemouth in your life. But could you imagine hooking a 12-pound smallmouth.
I cannot.
And you're probably going to hook him on that in 6-pound line.
Yeah, right,
in
right.
that clear water.
Yep.
And that, I will tell you about Dale Hollow, and I have no advantage at Dale Hollow because it's been 116 years since I fished there. But I moved to Nashville from Charlotte in '82. Was there from '82 to '92, and I had some buddies in the music industry then, had some music friends, one of which had a house trailer there at Star Point, and we used to go up there. Now this is in the '80s when we had no technology and we were mono, and 6-pound mono you could stretch from here to the curb, on a hook set. But I spent a lot of nights fishing Dale Hollow, and a lot of time up there. That was one of my favorite memories of my life of fishing, and all the places that I've been, the times that I spent on Dale Hollow searching for giants. So, and wow. I caught a 7.9 smallmouth. I never caught one 8 pounds. Tons of 6s. Fair number, not tons. Low 7s. 7.9 being the biggest.
Wow.
But I have hooked. I mean, and everybody's got it right. The one that gets away.
Of course.
Guys, the day I caught the 7.9, I hooked one that looked to be twice that size.
Wow.
It wasn't, but it looked to be, right? Yeah. But very, very, very large fish, but they're so hard to catch. And back then, it was so funny. Old writer from the music industry named Frank Duckett, loved a smallmouth. Frank and I fished together up there a lot. And we used to laugh because we'd go out there and you couldn't get bites. That water's so clear. And if you were throwing 6-pound line, we'd throw Trilene XT clear. Okay. That's the best we had. Monofilament. Yeah. And 6-pound, and you'd hook a big one and you break him off because you get in the timber. There's a lot of standing timber at Dale Hollow, right. and giant weed patches in 20 foot. It was like you can't catch a 9-pound smallmouth on 6-pound line at Dale Hollow. Then we'd get mad and we'd pick up our 10-pound rod, and we'd both fish, because we'd lost this giant this one night, and you couldn't get a bite.
Never get a bit.
And we're like, if we didn't eventually go back, let me go back to the 6-pound line, and we catch a couple, and then a month later or 20 trips later, you finally hook that giant of a lifetime, and you couldn't catch him on 6-pound line.
Break them off.
Dude, those big smallmouth at Dale Hollow are a different breed.
Yeah.
So here we are going up there for Bass Pro Tour event. Every fish counts. Don't know how much. I don't know what'll play. I haven't been on the water up there, and I can't even tell you how many years. Okay. So I don't. I'll have to stumble around to find anything I ever used to fish. But I am looking forward to it. It's always been a good fishery. It's got a lot of numbers. Got a lot of fish in it. Got a lot of largemouth that'll play. We do have a pretty big minimum in 2 pounds. Yeah. That's a deep clear lake. It's not Santee with a bunch of giants.
Sure.
So that'll cut us back to where you have to catch a pretty decent one, 2 pound plus. Right. To weigh him. So, but I'm so looking forward to 2 weeks it's a month.
No, you're a month out. A month out. Right. It's first. So what techniques do you think is going to be playing in that event?
Well, it's
you got any ideas?
1st of April. Depending on weather and depending on moon, and I haven't looked, I think it's about 7th or whatever, but full moon has a big pull, especially on those smallmouth. They'll be trying to spawn. If we get decent weather, they will be spawning. Okay. So that'll be fun. Now, maybe, we got a pretty smart group of guys, but I can tell you in all the time that I've smallmouth fished, all over the country and up north, they spawn deep at Dale Hollow. Shouldn't have said that because somebody might watch this. But I've caught them looking at them in 18 at Dale Hollow. Wow. Down on the bottom. Wow. But that should produce some really, really big smallmouth. So that part of it's fun to me. Yeah. But I think we'll be in a spawn, possibly pre-spawn, but there'll be plenty of them shallow enough. But here we are forward facing. I've never used forward facing on Dale Hollow because it didn't exist. We still had flashers when I was fishing Dale Hollow. Okay, but
you're dating yourself now, boy.
But I know a bunch of those fish are offshore, so I would say it provides a good opportunity for those guys that have learned the techniques on forward. So you get to see all of it play.
So maybe the setup is again that a lot of different techniques are going to come into play. Guys will find ways to catch them shallow and deep, and inshore and offshore, and so that makes for really fun, entertaining events when guys are catching them on a lot of different things, and everyone has their own little spot, and it just to me, it just is funner to watch when they're using a lot of different things to catch them. So, yep, very good. So, well, we wanted to talk a little bit about a segment of just like becoming a pro, that path to becoming a pro angler. Like the technology of that, being a pro, social media, learning your craft is really different than it was quite some time ago. You were just talking about, using a flasher back in your days, and trying to make it as a pro angler is really different. In some cases, there's more opportunities than there's ever been. You got junior high school clubs and high school clubs, and you can go get a free ride at college by bass fishing, which didn't exist back in the good old days. But it's also a tougher thing because I think anglers now are asked many times to do different things and more than just catch fish. Everybody in these events, from the regional events, the guys here on Guntersville, there's some great sticks here, right?
Everywhere.
But to be a pro, you got to do more than just catch fish.
Definitely have to do more than just catch fish, and it has changed a lot. I would agree that I think today, as compared to, like, I started traveling in 1977. I was 17 years old, trying to win money and possibly make a living fishing. Maybe have that illusion then, or certainly be as successful as I could.
Right.
But the sponsorship opportunities and even tournament payout opportunities were much less than. So I think today's opportunity is greater than it ever has been. But the competition is greater.
Correct.
A lot more high-paid jobs in this space now for pro anglers. I mean, pro anglers. It's a favorite thing for us to do, to pour mouth how tough it is to make a living out here. But we got more guys earning $500 to $1 million than we ever have in the space, ever have. So there is great opportunity as a professional angler. But you have just what you pointed out. Your home lake has phenomenal anglers on it now. And just like Guntersville or wherever you're from, competition's tough. So you got to learn how to catch them better than most people in the world. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, you have to understand that our sport evolved not through tournament payouts. We're more like NASCAR than golf. They have payouts in NASCAR. Every guy, buddy, finishes somewhere and you get a paycheck.
Right.
They don't even print it, I don't think, because it won't pay for the tires.
Right.
Or whatever. But so they're media platform based and sponsorship sales based on the media platform. That's what drives their industry, and that's what we are today. So for a new angler, and it won't be a new angler, because new anglers aren't going pro.
Yeah.
For seasoned anglers, they may be young, but they got a bunch of time on the water if they have any kind of a chance. So for anglers that are interested in becoming a professional angler, you have to understand that catching them is important. But catching them is important because it gives you the media coverage. It's not, you don't get paid for winning.
Right.
You get paid for the media coverage that winning offers you, or finishing fifth, or top tens, or titles, or you get paid for that opportunity. And you have to understand that sponsorship is advertising. So you have to realize that for whether you're a Duckett fishing pro or a pure fishing pro or whatever you're, or General Tire sponsored or non-endemic sponsored, that it's your job to help them sell product and advertise their product.
Right.
That's what you're being paid for.
Most certainly.
So your off the water work becomes more important. Hard as it is, guys, to become the best angler at Guntersville or at your home lake, that's just a piece of the job. Then you have to learn how to be valuable at giving your sponsor their money's worth. They're not paying you because you caught one. It doesn't do us any good to pay somebody to win a bass tournament.
And there's 100 guys in the line that can catch them.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it behooves us at Duckett Fishing to pay someone that can show the world our new products. that we have to display and to be able to say, hey, here's our new product, here's how it works, and get the opportunity, whether they're shooting commercials for us or doing boat shows or all the things that our anglers do.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be. We have anglers that don't win bass tournaments that we pay good sponsorship to.
Right.
Because they take the time and energy to share our vision and tell the public, notify, it's advertising. Make people aware that we have super new forward-facing products. Our success we've had with our subtle tails. Just ask Knox.
Yeah. Knox came up to give his opinion on this whole thing. So,
but it's all of that. That's the piece that new angler has to learn.
Right. Absolutely.
And hey, you've been more you're on the sponsorship side.
I lived that life a long time. Yeah.
For a long time. I've been on the receiving end. You've been on the giving end. So we've been on both. Right. We share both sides of this.
Yep. Yeah. One thing that I've talked to young anglers or people trying to break into the sport, people just that would approach me and try to be sponsored. They wanted to be sponsored, and I had a line from Clement Stone, and he's an older guy. He was a businessman, but he wrote a lot of self-help books and was involved in a lot of different things. And he was kind of the father of the power of positive thinking. That's where his kind of made a name for himself, and so he was really involved in that, and so he was kind of involved in some of the marketing stuff. And one of the things that he said, and I used to tell these young anglers, is that your most valuable asset, the thing that you bring to the table, no one can deliver it but you. No one can take it away from you either. Is invisible, and that's the brand that you develop for yourself. Mm-hmm. It's what you bring to the table, and that's the type of thing that is important. We've talked about some great anglers in this podcast, but when you look at somebody like Kevin, you knew what color he was going to be wearing. Right? He built a brand for himself. Skeet Reese, friend of ours. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't yellow, it didn't happen around Skeet, right? Black. He just really developed a name for himself. If Bill Dance didn't wear a Tennessee hat, you might not even recognize him. Mm-hmm. And so it comes with that time, that willing to do the work, developing a brand for yourself, establishing what you are, because sponsors are going to come and go. Mm-hmm. There's some of them will be with your whole career. And you're lucky to have those, because those are fewer and farther between maybe than there's ever been. But if you develop a brand and stand for something yourself, it gives you a lot more credibility in the long run. And that's hard work. Like, you can't be complacent in doing that. You've got to go and make that happen yourself. You're building a business. You're building your own private business. And that's just a lot of hours, a lot of hard work on top of being a good angler.
That's right. You got to be a good angler. But that's a great point. And if I can, and I'll share something else from the Pro Point, and certainly starting as a young angler with no sponsorship early on to a lot of sponsorship later on, when I was doing it full time. Be honest and be true to yourself.
Yes.
You do work for sponsors to advertise for them. You don't work for sponsors to be somebody different than you are.
Right.
And a good sponsor will recognize that. Mm-hmm. And there's no single contract worth not being honest. Mm-hmm. And that matters.
Yeah.
Everything isn't the greatest ever made. And it isn't your job to say that.
Right.
It's your job to determine that this product works well for me. I want you to know that it exists, and I want you to know the values in this. Mm-hmm. And so that matters. And if this isn't, for me to say that a Yamamoto Senko is the best bait that you can throw to get a bite, I mean, I don't know anybody argues with that.
Right.
They bought a Senko, they're probably going to. That's easy for me to say and verify. Mm-hmm. That isn't me saying that everything Yamamoto ever made was the best there was, because it isn't. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of great baits.
Sure.
But I can tell you, in my personal experience, what does work. Be you.
Yeah.
When you're selling, don't try to become someone else. And when you talk about branding, Skeet has a vibrant brand, and he always did. But Skeet's never been anything but Skeet.
100%.
Okay?
Yeah.
He didn't make up Skeet.
Right. Worked
that's
his
it.
butt off, too, to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to become someone else.
Right.
You don't have to go, dress up or do goofy stuff. I see that's not how to sell sponsorship.
Right.
Be yourself.
That's usually short-lived, too.
Very short-lived.
Because you can't be that when you're a top-level pro. You're kind of in the limelight all the time, no different than a celebrity.
Yep.
So you can only be someone you're not for so long. You can only kind of fake it for so long.
That's right.
And then you just get exhausted, or you just can't keep up that persona.
Yep.
And I think that's a really good, important piece, and it applies to the products you use. Yeah, you need to get sponsorship, but if you just are trying to search for the dollar, and you're willing to put any logo on your jersey, even if you don't believe in it, even if you don't even like it.
Never going to work.
It just doesn't pay in the long run. You get a very short financial gain for a longer period of misery sometimes because of that. And it just isn't the right choice.
And your brand shows that.
Yes,
and
that hurts your brand.
It hurts your brand because your ability to influence others that look up to you for the truth.
Yeah.
Quickly recognize they're not getting the truth. Align yourself with brands that you believe in. And that way, the information you share with your fan base, your audience that we're paying you for, is a genuine message.
Yeah.
So that's key. That's a great point. That short-term money wrecks careers.
Yeah.
I've watched it happen over and over.
I've dealt with people that have done that, and they just bounce from brand to brand. They're repping this line of product, and tomorrow it's the competitor of that, and a year from now it's a competitor of them. People see through that. It's just not honest and legitimate anymore, and that's tough. And then sponsors see through it too.
Yep.
It's like, well, what makes you think you're going to stick around for more than 8 months?
Yeah.
The next time you get a better offer, you're going to jump ship, and I'm not going to invest a lot into you for that. So it makes it tough. It makes it tough, and it's not easy. Overall, I'm not saying any of this is easy stuff, but if your dream is to be a competitive angler, there's no room for complacency. You've got to put in the time as if you're building your own business from scratch. From a lemonade stand to a fishing rod company, right? You got to put in the time to build the business, and being a pro angler is no different than that.
I guarantee you one of the biggest misconceptions about professional bass fishing is that I go out and learn how to catch them, I'm going to make a whole bunch of money. And all I got to do is fish, and if I catch them, I'm going to make a bunch of money. There's no bigger misconception.
Yeah.
In every sport and in every job you'll ever have, the harder you work, the more successful you'll be. That fundamental does not go away. For professional anglers, I've watched guys come from hard working jobs where they worked 50-hour weeks. 52 week, might take a week's vacation, 51 weeks a year. They work 50 hours. They are great natural anglers. They get the opportunity to fish at a higher level. And now all of a sudden they think they have to fish 8 or 9 tournaments, and practice, and work 15 weeks out of the year and make a living. That ain't gonna work, boys. It ain't that good.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
If you need to work 50 weeks a year, 50 hours a week at this sport, or you're not gonna be Jacob Wheeler or Kevin Van Dam.
Right.
None of us are gonna be that, but you're not gonna be that.
A top 50 pro.
Yeah, you're gonna get beat by the guy that's working. Even if you catch him.
Yeah.
You can't catch them good enough to not work.
Right.
So don't be misled. And when I mean work, you work hard on your tournaments. Jacob's on our pro staff here. We know him. We know him well.
Yes.
His work ethic, guys. He's working all the time.
He's on the water 320 days a year.
And when he ain't on the water, he's working.
Yeah. Right.
He's either shooting content. He's at his computer helping us or someone else design. He's working on his deals. He's map study. He's working hard for his sponsors. He's making appearances. He does tons for us and everybody else. He's traveling. he's doing he's got a steel mill job at 55 hours a week. He's just doing it on the water.
Yes, yeah.
That's part of why he's the number one angler in the world. So just don't get your head wrong.
Right.
If you come into this space and you work hard, if you got an opportunity to be a $500,000 a year attorney, take that job.
Yeah.
And you had a degree and you could get the job.
Yep.
Okay. If you think you're going to go in there and work 15 or 16 weeks and keep it, you know better.
Right.
You know better without asking.
Yeah. Any executive at any company that's making a six-figure living, that they don't take 40 weeks a year off.
You got to work. And so that's one of the things, maybe it's one of the things that has blown me away about guys that have come into this space that used to work hard that don't work hard. It's just, I don't know what the misconception is. So if you want to chase being a professional angler, learn how to fish, but work at it.
Yeah. And it's the right career choice for a lot of people. It's a great opportunity to be on the water. There's all the benefits that come of that.
Yep.
Fishing because you love it. You're a competitor. You get to see a lot of the country. You meet amazing people. I love the fishing industry because of the people that are in it.
Yep.
But there's the other thing that I always talk to people about too. I've spoken at high schools and talked to young anglers at different events, and there's great jobs in the fishing industry that you don't have to be an angler either. I have
absolutely.
one. I'm not a tournament angler. I love to fish. I'll fish all the time. I'll fish for anything. I'm not cut out to be a tournament angler, but I love working in the fishing industry. There's really smart people that work in marketing, that work in sales, that work in accounting, that are really passionate about fishing, and they're crucial to the fishing industry. And so there's great jobs at a lot of levels within this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And learning and being a tournament fisherman at any level, and certainly understanding bass fishing, is pretty much a requirement to work in our space.
Yeah. At least if you want to be good at it.
Well, it's hard to work around here and not know something about bass fishing and understand the space. So it does provide a whole new atmosphere there.
All right. Well, Boyd, that kind of wraps it up for us. I'm tired. We had a great comment. It was great talking about some of these comments. Some of these are some of my favorite topics that we were able to cover tonight.
Hey, man, this podcast, I had enough fun that we're probably going to have a third one.
Let's do another one.
We got a third one coming. Hey, don't forget to come to Redcrest if you can't.
Yes.
Redcrest in Birmingham, if you're anywhere close by, with KVD's last event, you need to be there. Unbelievable expo anyway. It's a cool deal. And then, man, I tell you, it looked like half this show was based on comments we had from...
It's great to get the comments. I thought that some of the ones that you covered, I learned a lot listening from them. I hope the audience enjoyed them. This is all about trying to be upfront, honest, and cover topics that maybe you'd never hear from other people. We're going to try to cover those as much as we can, so please leave us some more comments back. Whether it's for Duckett Fishing itself, it's for Boyd, it's for MLF. If it's just about something you love or hate about fishing, we'll give it a shot.
That's right.
And then we're going to be live at Redcrest, or we're going to be shooting at Redcrest for sure. So stop by, see us. We might do a couple of the comments right from the show floor, too.
Absolutely. We want to talk about what you want to hear about. That's the reason we're doing it.
As long as it's fishing.
As long as I don't want to have to be. We got Tennessee football questions. I can take those.
I'm out. I'm not talking about that.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Leave your comments. We'd love to hear from you, and thanks for tuning in.